This video is sponsored by Wildlife Command Center Coffee. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am back with another One Filmmaker, One Film. And today my guest is...
It's true. Am I saying my name?
That's, yes. Let me get my fingers right. Yes, that's you. You would say that. Yes, there.
I'm Tory Jones. I'm a director, writer, and producer for independent films.
And I noticed that the Jonestown is listed. Jonestown Films. Is that your company?
Yep, that's my film company, founded in 2011.
Any relation to Jim Jones?
I got that question so much. No, unfortunately, we are not related to the Reverend Jim Jones. I actually have had several people try to get me to use that as some sort of a marketing ploy. And I'm like, that just seems so wrong to do. But no relation to Jim Jones or the Jonestown of the 70s.
I am fascinated by Jim Jones and Guyana and Jonestown and all that. So I've seen all the movies and all that stuff. And that's a bucket list film of mine, is to get Vince Vaughn to play Jim Jones in my version of Guyana. Yeah, I think that he'd do a great job, especially with some of the stuff that he's done recently. So when when I saw your production company there, I'm just like, oh, I wonder if there's, if he's playing off the Jim Jones thing. So, but no, you're not. You're not doing that.
Now, I may be a distant cousin somehow, but I am not playing off of the Jones.
Oh yes, because your last name is Jones, so your production company. Now, did that maybe make you hesitate in using Jonestown? Maybe Jones City?
Yeah, I kind of attribute it to or compare it to Blumhouse, Jason Blumhouse. So Jonestown is really the kind of films that I'm into, the kind of content that I want to put out in the genre. So Jonestown is just the brand overall of what we want to do.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And you and I literally have just met. I'm taking it that we did not know of each other or heard of each other until you reached out and said, hey, I would like to be on One Filmmaker. I have this film called The Wicked One, and I'm always open to having, fresh faces on, especially people I don't know. And so this is our first meeting. So, which I love.
I saw your show, and I was like, that would be kind of cool. Just one filmmaker. I kind of like the one filmmaker, one film, and just being able to talk about one film and not, every film. That makes it a little easier for sure.
Yeah. And I could bring you back. That's one of the ideas was, if you're somebody who's made 5 films, I can have you come back 5 times, so made sense to me. So sometimes people do 2 films on here. I just had Donald Wills on, and we talked about 9 of his short films, but they all equaled 1 hour. So for me, that was fine. That took 2 hours, a little over 2 hours to talk about 9 short films. So it worked out perfectly. And I really enjoyed your film, The Wicked One. And I first watched the trailer, and I thought, ooh, this looks fun. This looks really cool. And it was came out in 2017, and it's an hour and 30 minutes. You directed the film, and like we had talked about before, it's Jonestown Films and Studio 605. Who's Studio 605?
So Studio 605 is located in the Cincinnati area of Ohio, and that is Mr. Roman Josart. At that time, he had other people involved in his company, but now that is just Roman, but that's Roman's company. He has actually worked with me on 2 other of my films. So we kind of had a little bit of a partnership going there and kind of grew together as filmmakers. But he was heavily involved with that film, and actually had a small role in that film, as well as one of the security guards in the opening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
That's always fun when that happens.
Yeah, we met actually. So the genesis was that when we actually set out to make this film in 2014, and for one reason or another, it didn't get made, and everything fell through. So when we decided to redo it, our actor who plays the Wicked One, Jack Norman, said, well, you should talk to Studio 605 about getting them involved. So that's sort of how they came involved. And yeah, that's sort of how that played out.
Okay. And I'm looking at your IMDb. Now I'm seeing Halloween Homecoming. Is this a fan film?
That was actually my first attempt at ever making a film. Yeah. And no one will ever see it. I promise you, I will never let it be seen. There is copies out there, but I will not allow it to be seen.
Why is that?
It's unwatchable. It's so
and that was 2009. So really, it's that horrible?
It's pretty bad.
You know, that just makes me and other people want to watch it now.
I don't understand that at all. I have so many people who ask to see that film, and it's sort of a running gag if I work with someone who was a part of that. I was a 19-year-old kid, not really knowing what I was doing when I tried to make that movie. And it has some good moments, but it's just brutal.
And I'm looking at it right here. So you got a Michael Myers in there. And what was the length of it?
It's actually a feature. Yeah.
Oh.
That was about an hour and a half movie. Yeah.
Really? And you're just gonna let it go, huh?
I am, yeah. That's one I try to act as if that one never happened and never existed. So.
But it's on IMDb, though.
Yes. I wish I could get that taken down, but for whatever reason, it cannot be taken down.
I am going to hunt this earth. I am going to go to all corners of this round planet, flat for some people, and find a copy of this film so I can watch it. So...
Oh boy! I bet you don't make it through it. That's all I'll say. I bet it's turned off.
Oh wow! Okay. Well, then we'll move on to the next one. So you have, this is a great title, Killbillies.
Yep. So Killbillies I actually made in 2011, and that was my first time, second attempt at making a film, but that was really my first time completing a project, and. Still young at the time, still growing. But that was kind of, it was like a Rob Zombie meets Your Next home invasion flick about these backwoods inbred hillbillies who own a flea market. Going into this family reunion and just committing the most awful, atrocious stuff that you can think imaginable to this family. I mean, it's brutal. I don't know what kind of a mind space or mindset I was in when I made that film, but there's so much just bad stuff in that movie. But nothing really ever came of that movie because at the time I don't think I still fully understood what I was doing. But it is available out there, okay. So you can buy that on my website to check that out. But again, first movie, so I don't really count that as like my first. I always say the Wicked One is really where I found my footing, and of course everything sort of took off with the Wicked One.
These are just like practice films.
Kinda, yeah. That's how I look at it.
I mean, that's what Robert Rodriguez was going to do originally with El Mariachi, is he was going to make 3 of them, totally low budget, and nobody was going to see them. So then when he made his big movie, he knew what to do. But instead, El Mariachi became his big movie. And then he did 2 big Hollywood sequels to it. So that plan didn't work.
Kill Billy's was. I'm glad that it was finished. But looking back at it now, it's just because technology's come so far and the quality of cameras and everything that we have access to these days, it's still I tell people when they buy it at a convention, I'm like, now don't judge me. First real film. It's it's rough in spots, but yeah, it's a complete story, and it's just balls to the wall, crazy.
Okay. And then I think it sounds interesting. I would check it out. And then after that is The Wicked One, which is what we're mostly going to be talking about today. Angel is after that.
Mm-hmm.
And is that a feature film, short film?
Angel. So I've only, with the exception of one, which is sort of a tie-in, I've only ever done one short. All of my films have actually been features.
Okay.
So Angel, which is available out there on Tubi and Vudu and all digital platforms, streaming platforms, pretty much. That followed The Wicked One, and that is actually about an abandoned town. And this entity or person that lives in this abandoned town called Angel. So that's more of a dramatic sort of. It's more dramatic and emotional and a thriller more so than a slasher. It has certain slasher elements, but I don't really consider it a slasher. It's more suspense and tension and just a lot more drama in that film.
I like the idea of it being set in an abandoned town. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. We actually we lucked out with that. Some of the people involved in the film were like, "Hey, we need to go check out this place." It was an abandoned distillery. When we got there, this distillery had like roads going through it and other buildings and houses, and I mean, it was all literally right there. So we literally used that and a few other abandoned places, abandoned bridges and abandoned roads, and created this abandoned town for that film.
Nice. That sounds very cool. And then you have a short film, because it actually says short on it, The Confessions of Colin Miller.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Colin Miller is the character of the Wicked One as a teenager. That's his name in The Wicked One and Wicked Ones. So when we did the Wicked One sequel, Wicked Ones, we wanted to do some sort of a little tie-in short film to sort of promote that film's premiere and it coming out. So we did The Confessions of Colin Miller, which is sort of just like a little interview while he's institutionalized. So that was just sort of a little tie-in. And the good thing is that the actor who played him in the original Wicked One, even though he's several years older, he hasn't aged at all. So he got to reprise that role, and he's crazy good at it.
Oh, that's good. Well, Rob Zombie wasn't that lucky. So, having the recast for Halloween too. So that's cool that happens. Yeah. And then Wicked Ones, which is the sequel. Without giving too much away, I mean, what can you tell us about Wicked Ones?
So if the Wicked One, which we're going to get into and all that, but the Wicked One was more of an homage to the Halloween franchise, and two parts: the Halloween franchise and Rob Zombie, who's one of my favorite filmmakers, who did a Halloween movie or two. And then Wicked Ones is sort of playing on what happens when violence, like what the Wicked One did, inspires others to commit violence. So it's more along the lines of the spread of violence and how violence incites violence in some people. So you have copycats of the Wicked One killings, and the Wicked One's back, and it leads into this big whole conclusion, this big showdown with them and the survivors of the first film. So it ups it on the intensity, it ups it on the craziness, it ups it on the gore. It certainly ups it on the kills, So it's elevated. It's elevated to another level with that, and it just adds to that lore a little bit. Retrospect, if I could go back, I'd probably do it a little differently and just focus more on that central character than I did with the copycats. But it is what it is. But yeah, it's just terror times 3. You know, the Wicked 1 and 2 copycats with them. So
Okay, all right, I like it. I like it. And what about it says They See You? That is in post production.
yep. So They See You, we actually shot back March of last year. It was shot March. We premiered it in October, and right now we're shopping and considering different distro offers for that film. So, but that is sort of a Halloween coming of age film, a little bit different in tone, a little more lighthearted. I compare it to like a Halloween version of Jumanji, in that you have these 3 outcast brothers who steal this mysterious board on Halloween and unleash these ghouls onto their town, and then they have to figure out how to fix it. So it's about this board, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot more lighthearted, very different from my other work, and just a good and needed change of pace for sure. It's my best work so far, for sure. Best work.
Oh, okay, good. All right, good. So always growing, improving from one film to another. So, okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one that's on here is Phantom Fun World. That says pre-production.
Yep. So we are 7 weeks out from principal photography starting on Phantom Fun World. And that is about a indoor theme park. And this film stars Ari Lehman from Friday the 13th. It also stars Elsie Holt from Your Next. And talking to someone else that I can't announce yet, from a well-known horror franchise, but hopefully we'll be able to announce him soon if he ends up coming on board. But this one is about these employees at this indoor fun park, and there's a guy who shows up sporting the Phantom mask and tears through them, and it's just it's sort of stripping it back down to what we did with the Wicked One. One guy committing a lot of murders.
Okay, so new franchise by chance, new killer, new series?
I hope. I have a 3-story arc. It really depends on if people dig this enough and want to see more, but I do. There is a 3-story arc there to sort of to carry it on if we wanted to.
What do you think of universes? Like, could like the Wicked One meet that film? Could they kind of combine killers?
It's a possibility. I would be lying if I said I hadn't considered that, because the Wicked One is sort of what I'm known for. I can't seem to get out of that shadow at all. But possibly, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. If it was the right story, which probably wouldn't come from me, I'd probably have to have help fleshing that out. But that could be something that happens. Who knows?
Okay, all right. Look forward to that too. So that's lots of stuff for the future.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully.
And with so now to go back to the Wicked One, I'm going to read what Wikipedia says so people know what we're talking about here. I'm sorry, not Wikipedia, IMDb. It says a group of traveling friends who are hoping for a fun-filled weekend getaway find themselves in the crosshairs of one of the most dangerous and prolific serial killers in history. Would that sum it up pretty well?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Basically, it's about this group of friends, adult friends. We didn't want to go the whole teenager route, but they're adult friends who go away for a weekend back to her family farm. And we come to find out that this farm that her family bought, they actually purchased after a series of crimes took place there. So she grew up on this farm with all this history that has tainted this town of Carpenter Falls. Nice little homage there to the maestro himself. But
I was going to ask, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But and then of course the Wicked One ends up escaping from where he's at and goes back to his to his family's land to find this group of friends there, and then stuff goes south.
Yes, it does not go north at all. It definitely goes south for all of them, which kind of makes me wonder like how you could make a sequel to this. So, but you figured out a way, obviously. So, I guess what are you gonna? I guess you just kind of got to figure out a way of doing it with. And there's going to be spoilers. Do you mind spoilers?
I'm good with it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been out for a while, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And people should go see it. I'll have a link down below to Tubi for it, and any other links you want to send me to things, I'll post those too. But let's just say that if somebody mentions sequel to me, there's like one person that lives. So everybody else, and including cast and crew and everybody, is dead. So I don't know how you're how you're going to do it. So I'm very interested in seeing that. So. And I noticed that the one of the writers here, is it Cheyenne Gordon?
Yep.
Cheyenne okay, good. Gordon. I said so that he's one of the co-writers, and he actually plays my favorite character in the film.
I hear that a lot, that he's actually, probably because he wrote it for himself, so he was ready to play that character. But yeah, Cheyenne helped me write it. The man has a gift when it comes to writing dialogue. He's exceptional. He's sort of been involved with me in most of my projects. But he's really talented. I thought he did great in the film. I thought that character was an added layer to it. And if I could go back, I probably wouldn't have killed that character. Spoiler alert, wouldn't have killed that
what?
Off, because
I haven't actually seen the movie. What?
That was a mistake. So
well, it's a horror film, so people can always come back. So
that's true. We did talk about him possibly willing in a jazzy chair like Mason Verger and Hannibal. After the way he dies in the movie, we're like, you can roll in there like Gary Oldman's character.
Yeah. Look how many times Dewey survived in the Scream films, and they even, brought back Seth Green, for part 3. So they figured out even a way of getting him back in there. So there's ways of doing it. So I guess maybe, well, you've already shot the film. So I guess maybe for a part 3.
Well, this is looking way ahead. But if we ever did another Wicked one, it would probably be on the 10-year anniversary of it in 2027, and that would probably just be some sort of a reboot. We probably wouldn't continue with the third one, because I think the way the second one ends, it wraps up that arc and that narrative pretty precisely.
So it wouldn't be the new word requel, I guess, is now the new word that people are using thanks to Scream 5. Everything is now a requel.
I probably would not use that word requel. Actually, Roman, who shot the Wicked one with me, was my DP on that. Long before Scream 5 used that word, Roman used that word on his film Campground, the requel that he shot in 2015. So I wouldn't probably use that word, just out of respect for Roman using it in his Campground movie that he did. But no, it would be the idea with the Wicked one, which we sort of establish. Okay, in the opening of the film, we see that this kid commit these murders, and then he goes and he bows down before this crow creature, right? That's not fully revealed. It's sort of hidden. And
yeah.
We expand on that a lot in the sequel, that the Wicked one is not just tied to that one person. If someone came upon or tapped into that darkness of that entity, there could be a new Wicked one. So we left it open that way, to where it's almost like in comic books how there's different versions of heroes or villains, right? There's different versions of the Hobgoblin. There's different versions of who's Venom. in certain comics. So we wanted to do that where there's a Colin Miller Wicked one, and then there will be someone else who's a Wicked one in a reboot. So it doesn't take away from what was established. It just builds on that mythology of that crow demon creature thing.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I like the when you see the younger version of him and he's walking to those like really high bushes that almost reminded me of like Children of the Corn or something. As he's walking towards them, I was picturing corn, and then that crow thing kind of pops out for, you know, kind of have to almost pause it to get like a good look at him. And I thought, oh, cool, what is that? And then we don't really see it again. So I'm like, okay, something is going on. And he did mention sequel. So, you know, so yeah, good. Because I like that. It added a little bit of mystery to it. And I liked him kind of going into those overgrown bushes.
Yeah. So in the sequel, basically we go back and show what happened in the opening of that, but we expand on it. So there's this whole flashback scene that dives into that much deeper. You see him actually commit the crimes on his parents and his sister. You see how the crow took control, how he found the crow. We show all of that.
Oh, nice.
And it just becomes this, I mean, he was basically seduced by this entity that led him to do these things. And then once he's gone, if someone stumbles upon this rune or this rock or whatever that this spirit thing is tied to, I mean, they could tap into that same darkness that Colin Miller did as the Wicked one.
Okay, so all right. So with that being said, how did you like come up with the idea for this film? What were your inspirations for this?
So like I said, I think it's pretty obvious that Halloween was a huge inspiration for this film. That's my favorite horror movie of all time, Halloween, favorite franchise. I love Halloween. Anytime a Halloween film is announced, I'm like a giddy schoolgirl. I love it. That is my drug of choice is the Halloween franchise. And then of course Rob Zombie. I am someone who, this is an unpopular opinion, but I love Rob's Halloween 2. I think it is.
Me too.
I love it. I think it is one of the best in the entire franchise. It's probably one of my top 3 in the entire franchise. I just loved what he did with it, man. Visually, story-wise, I think it's a better play on trauma than the 2018 movie as well. Just loved it.
Yeah, I people are surprised when I say that I like part 2 better than part 1. And I tell them why is because it's a pure Rob Zombie movie. The first one is him remaking Halloween. So there are obviously certain key things he has to put in. This is just pure Rob Zombie. Now, I have to admit, I do have a love-hate relationship with Rob Zombie. I love half of his music and dislike the other half. I love half of his films and dislike the other half. Like I think 3 from Hell is the laziest movie I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know why he made it. And I don't understand it. And they were dead, clearly. And there are so many plot holes in that film. But yet I loved The Devil's Rejects.
Yeah. I like Rob. I love Rob's work up until Lords of Salem. And then after Lords of Salem, I was meh about 31. And then 3 from Hell, I thought was atrocious.
I could still watch it. You know, if I had to watch the trilogy, you know, all in one sitting, I could still watch it. But it just didn't. I didn't get it. So, so with these films being your inspiration, then what kind of clicked to go, I want to make the Wicked one and I want to make it this way?
So I have a filmmaker friend, and I've said this numerous times to different people, but I had a filmmaker friend who made a movie called Methodic several years ago. It's an older independent film, but it's sort of similar to the Wicked one in that he has this character, the Doll Man. And the Doll Man is this spirit that can hop from person to person. And I wanted to do like a Rob Zombie version of that. And I talked to Chris, filmmaker Chris Notarilli from Blinky Productions. He's out there. You can check out all his stuff. He does a lot of fan film stuff.
Oh yeah, he's been on One Filmmaker.
Has he?
Yeah. He was on earlier this season. Yeah.
Yeah. So so if you look at the Doll Man mask, and then you look at the Wicked One mask, the Wicked One mask is like this Rob Zombie, Tim Burton Scarecrow version of that Doll Man mask. So honestly, what we did was I wanted this character that, like Michael Myers, had been locked away and goes back to where he's from. That was sort of the starting point. And we actually rewrote this. Me and Cheyenne wrote the script over 12 times before we finally were like, okay, this is the one.
Okay, wow.
And
Okay.
then the way we made it, the way we made it different was just by saying, you know, this isn't a kid who killed for no reason like Michael, right? That's sort of the thing about Halloween, is that no one really knows why. But with this, we wanted to explain that this guy was influenced by something. And the Wicked One moniker, like I said earlier, is more attached to this entity, this crow demon thing, which plays into Native American folklore, and we did some research with that, just to sort of base it in some sort of a legend or myth or reality that people used to believe. And so that's really the jumping off point. I knew I wanted to homage Halloween because it was such a big deal to me. I knew that I wanted to have this Scarecrow character and be this dingy, dirty escapee from a mental institution who's wandering across the countryside of Tennessee trying to get back to his family's farm. And that was really the jumping off point for it.
Did you ever think this would become a franchise?
I mean, you always sort of sit around and joke about stuff like that, like, oh, if we did a sequel, you know. And originally, me and Cheyenne wrote a sequel before what became Wicked Ones. We wrote a sequel that took it out of small town, backwoods Tennessee and moved it into a city, and flipped it completely on its. The Wicked One was killed in the opening scene, and somebody starts hearing the voices and seeing the crow thing, and slowly over the course of the film is transformed into a new Wicked One.
Okay.
So, but then we were like, yeah, man, it's just maybe too much. So then we went with what we did. So yeah, I mean, but that was the jumping off point, wanting to homage what I loved and just create this character that I guess fortunately took off and has a little bit of a following. People seem to like the character.
That's good. That's great. So so many different places that you could take this. I like the idea of the city. So, I mean, yeah. Any plans that Alex is his sister?
No, that is one thing we rolled out immediately. We were like, no sister.
Is Adam maybe his brother?
No,
no relatives at all.
No relatives of the Colin Miller Wicked One.
And how did you determine what your budget would be for this?
Well, the budget for that, we like to joke that movie was made for hot dogs and handshakes, because we really had no budget to make that movie. It was shot on a measly little budget of $12,000.
Oh, wow.
And it for a movie shot on $12,000 to go on and make the kind of money that it's made for my company, and then to have people cosplaying as this character in 3 different countries is just that sort of blows me away. That something that small could resonate with people, and then dig that character so much. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's 3 different. Wow. So are people like sending you pictures of people dressed up in the cosplay?
Yeah. There's someone in Canada, there's someone in the States, and then there's someone, I think it's, I don't want to say it wrong. It's either Australia or it's in England, but one of the two. There's 3 people out there, and I get updates every now and then. I'll see a hashtag Wicked One on Instagram, and it's them in their costume, their cosplay costume of the character.
You got to love that. I mean, that's got to feel good, knowing that people love it so much that they're going out and building these costumes.
And it's not only that. I mean, there's artwork that pops up on Instagram, because every now and then I'll go and I'll like search the hashtag just to see what's out there. And I just found something recently that I saved to my phone that was a painting of the Wicked One. And I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. Here we are 5 years removed from this tiny little low budget film, and people are still drawing it and talking about it. And when I go to a convention and people come up to me, that's what they talk about. And that's usually like, oh, I want to get, oh, you got the sequel here, I want to buy the sequel, or so I guess that's pretty cool. It's kind of like, hey, if you liked this, check out all of this, but then they only want to talk about that. So but I guess John Carpenter will always be the Michael Myers guy, right? And so
right.
I guess that's pretty cool to be known for something.
Yeah, there's have you seen I think it's An Evening with Kevin Smith?
I have not.
He talks about how he was such a huge fan of Bruce Willis, and when they were doing Cop Out, these guys drove by in like a truck, and they just yell out like Die Hard, woo! And when they drove left, Bruce Willis just turns to Kevin Smith and goes, the fans at Die Hard are the worst. And it like destroyed Kevin Smith. So it's like at times just this stuff seems to just be, it's like, wow, you get that from time to time. But then when you are getting fans and they're sending you art and dressing up and making posters and maybe even thinking in their heads, wow, maybe I'll do like my own little movie, with this character. That's got to be just an awesome, thing to come across, especially when you Google, if you just Google it and you're like, hey, what's that? That's brand new. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. I think too, if you look at what happened with, like Art the Clown, that character was in 2 movies before Terrifier ever came along. Right. So, I mean, this character was in All Hallows Evil or Eve or something like that. And then,
Eve. Yeah.
And then Terrifier happened and it just blew up. So fingers crossed that happens one day for the Wicked One. That would be awesome if it got to that level. But that's sort of what I would do in a future film with this character, is I would reboot it and try to just give it a fresh start, and hopefully people dig the design and the character enough to say, man, I want to go check out these old movies with this character now. And it just sort of builds this thing that people can enjoy.
Would you upgrade the killer, the Wicked One? Would you give him like a new mask? Would you, or would he kind of still look the same?
I think the mask is the character, more so than anything. But I would probably, now in the sequel, the mask is deteriorated more. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, it's deteriorated, it's fallen apart because it's set 10 years later. So, but I think I would have that same mask to an extent, maybe small changes to it, just to show that it's new, that it's a new person. Yeah, I definitely think there's certain things about it that would have to be the same for it to be the Wicked One, and the mask being one of those.
Yeah, I like the idea of the mask kind of, you know, deteriorating, because that's, if you look at like comic book characters, I've always loved like Spider-Man 2, where his mask is like ripped halfway off at the ending fight. And
Yep.
or it's just, I think it's Spider-Man where he fights Goblin, where his mask is half ripped off. Michael Keaton with like Batman Returns, when he just pulls the cowl off and it's just all ripped and jagged. You know,
Yeah.
I love that type of stuff where things are like half of what they should be, or you know, Superman's costume is just almost destroyed. And I don't know what it is, I love seeing stuff like that. So that's why also with, yeah, like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, of just having that mask just all messed up looking. And now in Halloween 2, Michael Myers had a big beard, and your guy had a big beard. Was that kind of playing off of Halloween 2, or did he just not want to shave his beard?
So the actor at that time had this thing. He's actually good friends with Tyler Mane, and Tyler actually endorsed this film.
Oh,
Tyler did a video for us that basically said, "Hey, check out my buddy Jack Norman as the Wicked One. I taught him everything he knows." He did that for the film when we were launching our Indiegogo. And Jack actually worked on Tyler's movie Penance Lane with him. And so they're friends. So I think that was his way of paying tribute to his buddy in a way. And he's a huge fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 as well. He's on the same boat as me with that one. He loves it. Now in the sequel, unfortunately, Jack couldn't, for scheduling, he couldn't play that character, so we had to recast. But yeah, the beard thing I think was Tyler inspired for sure.
yeah, because I was wondering it while watching it, that just right, you could just see under the mask there's just this beard, and I'm like, Halloween 2, maybe, you know, and which I loved in Halloween 2, because to me it makes sense, you know, that and in, you know, well, and you know, with like, you know, the Wicked One is, why would these guys shave?
Mm-hmm.
Like in all the Halloween movies, Michael Myers is always clean shaven. Why is he clean shaven? He would have a beard. He would look like a homeless person. He'd be like a hobo.
Right. And he never has the scar from until the new movies. He never had the scar where he got poked in the eye, or burns where he got burned up in Halloween 2. It's just like continuity went out the door.
Oh yeah. Well, actors, masks, all that stuff went completely out the door. So
I will give them credit on the new movies. I do dig what they're doing with the Blumhouse trilogy.
I got to be honest, and you're gonna hate me. I hated Halloween Kills with an utter passion. Hated it. I watched it twice. I saw it in the theater, and then I watched it on Peacock. And I'm like, if I have to hear Evil Dies Tonight one more time, I'm going to shoot myself. This film is 20 minutes too long. I don't understand what's going on. I would rather see a whole movie with that Donald Pleasance guy. You know, I really, and I'm a huge Anthony Michael Hall fan. And so I was really excited for him to be in it.
Yeah.
But man, I hate it. And I loved the Halloween. I loved the one before it. It was a tight 90 minutes. They didn't explain everything. It was all left open. Like, how did they capture Michael? I was totally fine with that. I liked that Michael was he just walked through the town and was kind of brought to Laurie. You know, that this ego of hers is like, oh, he's going to come for me. No, he was just killing people in his path. He was like a shark, like a great white shark. And they had it. So I loved all that. Loved the soundtrack and everything. Loved the trailer for Halloween Kills. Went to see it and went, what the hell am I watching? Why is this way?
So, little fun fact: the Wicked One is actually connected to the new Halloween trilogy. So, in the Wicked One movie, the actor who plays Adam, Alex's fiance in that movie, he stunt doubles the Oscar character in Halloween 2018 who got impaled on the fence.
Oh.
When when Michael slices him and he takes off running across the yard. That's Dale, who played Adam in The Wicked One. And after Michael stabs him on the fence, that's actually Dale's hand that you see sliding down.
That's cool. Okay.
So it gets better. This is why I'm a little salty about this. So Dale did that movie. Jack, who played the Wicked One, was a PA for like 3 weeks on Halloween Kills. There's pictures of him with David Gordon Green and with Jamie Lee and holding the mask. I was like, are you kidding me? These people that are like known for my film have worked on the thing I love the most. Like, what do I got to do to do something on one of these movies? I'll be a freaking PA. I mean, come on.
Well, they've just started making the third one. Any chance of them getting you on board?
I actually submitted my daughter to be one of the trick-or-treaters in the casting call down in where they're filming in Savannah. So we will see if that works out and that happens. But that would be cool just to go down and be on set and say, hey, I was on a Halloween film.
Oh, definitely. Well,
it's sort of the reason I make movies. You know, it's the reason I make movies. So,
I mean, that makes total sense, you know, and that's, you know, like you're really into the Halloween and that influenced you. And I'm really into Silent Night, Deadly Night. The whole franchise is my thing, and Scream, all of them except for 5. Which I don't like, but that's a whole other thing. I'm in the rarity, I guess, of not liking that movie, but I'll include 5 in it, whatever. But without those films and me watching them 100 times and studying them and all that, I wouldn't have made my 2 films, Xmas 1 and 2, because it's it's Christmas, Killer Santa Claus, and then it's got kind of the story thing of Scream, like the idea of it. And so you have to have these things to kind of get yourself going and motivated. So for me, I would love to work on like Scream 6 or work with one of the actors from one of the Silent Night, Deadly Night films. You know, I think would be great, or talk to just one of the directors on one filmmaker, I think would be awesome. So it's, you got to have that type of stuff to kind of motivate you, you know?
So you didn't like Scream 5, huh?
No, I did not. I thought it was flatly directed. I thought it was poorly written. I thought it was poorly lit. I hated the ghost Billy. I couldn't stand it because logically it makes no sense that she would even know what he sounds like. How would she know what he looked like with blood on him? Like, she would see maybe pictures of him as a teenager. But they, you know, and then it just completely goes against everything from the first film. You know, Billy was calling Sydney's mom a whore for breaking up his family. And now he is 17 going around fucking somebody else. Like, he's a total hypocrite. So no, no. And my 2 favorite. Oh no, go on.
I will admit that movie in one specific spot, I actually got really choked up, and I'm sure you know what spot that is, but I got really emotional. Like, I couldn't believe, I was like, oh my God, like, this is just, it's so hard to watch after, you know, everything that, and I talked to actually my wife about this. I was like, I think it's because, you know, she was like, well, you don't get that emotional about Halloween. I was like, yeah, but the timeline's been so convoluted with Halloween. So by this time you're kind of like, I don't even know what's going to happen now. But with Scream, it's been, you know, it's not, you've not had a convoluted timeline. It's not been messed up. We've literally followed these characters through 4 movies. And then for what happened in that, I was just like, even when, I don't know if I should mention it because it's still in theaters, but even when a certain deputy got killed, I was like, when they killed Judy, I was like, this is just hard to watch.
Well, I'm glad that they brought her back. And what you were talking about before that is Dewey's death. I'm assuming, and I don't know why people are get choked up about that, because he's been in 4 movies and he should have died in the first one. You know, it just happened that Wes Craven said, let's just get a shot of you waving we'll do one shot of you going into the ambulance dead, and then we'll do a second shot of you waving. And it just happened to be that he survived each one. So I think it's about time one of them died. And Nev Campbell has said that Sydney can never die, that she has to be in all of them, because then it kind of defeats the purpose of her character. But it's about time somebody did. And one thing that makes me mad are trailers. And I have now learned not to watch trailers, because there's a great shot of Ghostface of his shadow up against the wall. And he kind of moves his arms out like that. Not in the movie. You guys suck for not having that in the movie. It's a great shot. And
sort of the Nightmare homage, right?
Yeah. Oh, was it maybe in the homage?
I think they were trying to homage Wes's work as a whole, and I think that was the Nightmare, because Freddy did the same thing, right?
Right, but that shot's not in the film.
The shadow with the arms up.
It's just in the trailer.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm with you on that. I was like, I don't know why they took that out.
And my biggest complaint, and people have laughed at me about this, and I don't care. I was excited, really excited, when that trailer came out and you had the metal Scream mask and the flamethrower. I thought, this is going to be great. And it's in the film for 3 seconds, and it's in a trailer.
I did see something written that was actually Matthew Lillard's voice who said that line as the Chrome Face guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's in it, and Drew actually is the principal over Drew Barrymore's the principal over the intercom when they're all out at the picnic tables. So a couple of little Easter eggs in there.
See, that's nice. I like that. And but I can't get past it. It's not a Scream movie to me. I enjoyed the TV series better than this movie. Yeah. So, but hey, let's talk about your movie. That's why we're here. So, how did you? We're going to go back to budget for a second. How did you get the 12,000? Like, was that your goal, or was that just what could be raised?
I think we got it through Indiegogo. Maybe a couple of private investors as well. I can't remember what the numbers were on the Indiegogo for the Wicked one, but I want to say total budget was like 12 grand for that film. Yeah, we got it. I'm pretty sure primarily through Indiegogo.
Was the 12 what your goal was, or did you go over the goal and hit 12?
I mean, I don't. Honestly, I can't remember what my goal was with that one. That at that point, I was not as privy to crowdfunding as I am now. But that film, yeah, I have no recollection, no idea how we even got that much at that time.
You just know you got it.
Yeah.
And that's all that counts. What was your pre-production time like?
Pre-production actually went very well. There was, I don't know if they're still up or not, but Roman, we actually documented a lot of the pre-production. And there is, which this is an update, we're talking about doing a 5th anniversary release, because there is a feature-length making of a production that has it's sort of like what Rob did with his movies, pre-production through filming the whole movie. So we have like an 1.5 hour long documentary on that. So if we do a Blu-ray release of the Wicked one this year for the 5th anniversary, it'll have some new special features, and hopefully that'll be one of them. But pre-production went great. We had a lot of meetings. We scouted a lot of locations. We went into the dark, deep hills of Kentucky to shoot this film. I literally, I don't know how I found certain locations that I found, mainly through people I know. We had some experiences shooting at some of these locations with some of these characters who were eccentric to say the least. The most country, backwoods, don't give a damn people you could ever meet in your life. They didn't give a crap. They were over there drinking their beer and pissing on the tires of their vehicles, and I mean, it was a trip. We literally were like, what in God's name is going on right now with some of these people that we're around? But it kept it interesting for sure. But yeah, it was an experience making that movie.
Well, how long for the pre-production? Like, how long were you in it for? Like 3 weeks, 6 months?
No, pre-production. Let's see, we shot in March. I think it was about 4 months, 3 or 4 months of pre-production that we had, and we scouted a lot of locations.
I love your locations.
Keep everything. Yeah, I appreciate that. We tried to keep them as close together as possible, but we ended up shooting in 2 different states. We ended up shooting in Kentucky for a majority of it, but then we also shot in Indiana for some of it as well.
Where was the farm, the main place that they were at? Where was that at?
That was in Kentucky. Those are the eccentric characters I was telling you about. They are as country as cornbread and make no bones about it. So, but yeah, the farm, and it actually is back in the sequel. But we shot on that farm, and when we came back all those years later, you got to think we shot in 2016, and when we came back in 2019, the farm had not changed at all. Everything in that barn was in the exact same spot.
Nice. Well, that's good. At least for continuity purposes.
Yeah, it was. We were just like, I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like we've never left. So that was kind of bittersweet.
Well, and that's what I liked when you had I'm blanking. Hold on, I got it right here. Trevor and Olivia were walking, and they kind of go from one house and then they walk over to the other one, and she's like, "Oh, that must be the murder house." Mm-hmm. How close were those together? Were they just, because it looks like they're just like right back to back?
2 different states. So the farm is in Kentucky, and then the murder house was in Indiana. So they were about 3-hour difference between those locations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You would never know it. And there are some interesting things out there. There's that car that's kind of that's buried and launched up on these bushes. And I mean, what a great place to shoot.
Yeah, they actually. So Joe, who owns that farm in Kentucky, he says he tells his daughters, "That's the truck I courted your mother in." And so it meant that much to him that he buried half of it, and it sticks up on it. It's still there on his property. It sticks up out of the ground.
So he purposely buried the truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it looks cool. It's great for filming. So there were certain things about that farm that we tried to, obviously the barn is a big part of it. And then of course the horse that's in the Wicked one, that horse is in the sequel as well. That horse is older than, it's old. It's an old horse. I was very surprised at that scene. I actually went back and rewatched it because I'm like, is he on a horse?
Yeah. What I wanted to do, and they said I couldn't do it, but in my mind, I was like, oh, I can do this. I wanted him to chase them down on that horse. And they were like, there's no way. We don't have the lighting to do this. So I compromised. But in my mind, I had him like, Headless Horseman from Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, like chasing them down on that horse. And that's right. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, the horse is is very unusual, for how often do you see a killer on a horse? Halloween 2,
Right.
they have a horse, but they just walk around with it. Your
Yeah.
guy's actually riding it. So
Yeah.
you've actually
When,
one-upped Rob Zombie.
when we go back to that farm in the sequel, we show the old mailbox that's sort of fallen on the ground, right? It says the Curtis Farm on it. And we see that on the ground. And then as we pan up, that horse is standing right over top of it eating grass. So it's still there.
And with these locations, because you got some, like I said, some really good locations in here. How did that come about?
Just a lot of scouting, a lot of research. The running gag on my films is that Tory finds the best locations in the worst places. I find like these great locations, but they're always by an interstate or something, or an airport, or a highway where people are, driving up the road without mufflers. And but yeah, just a lot of research, a lot of Googling online, trying to find certain places, and luck, I guess. Luck. I don't know. It always seems to work out when we're looking for locations. It's like sometimes they just drop in our lap.
Are these people nice and just like, oh yeah, you could shoot here, or is it like, no, $500 a day type of thing?
Well, some locations we do have to pay for, just because they're not going to do anything unless they get something in return, which I get. The farm we paid for, the mental institution in that film I think we paid for. That was an old college school. But yeah, so it's some we get for free, some we don't. It just really matters on what the person wants in return.
When you're paying them to use these locations like the farm and the asylum and stuff, are there any rules that you have to follow, like no blood or no nudity, no swearing, anything like that?
Sometimes there is. That's again, it depends on the location. Like with this new film I'm shooting in some established theme parks, and they're picky about gratuity and what I can show there. So what we're actually having to do is build parts of it on a stage, build certain sets. So it just varies. Some people are much more relaxed and like, hey, whatever. And some people are like, oh no, I don't want naked girls in here, or I don't want nudity or a sex scene, or I don't want lots of blood. And then some people are like, I don't give a shit what you do, just tear it up, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I shot Meat Hook Massacre 4 out here, and the area where they go to get gas and directions and stuff, and the guy who let me rent it, I mean, I had to pay for it. He was like, well, we don't care about violence and swearing, but you can't have nudity. And I'm like, what's the difference? I mean, okay, so you're okay with somebody's head getting cut off and somebody cussing up a storm, but while cutting somebody's head off, I guess, but nudity is wrong. And then, so I said, well, no, there's no nudity in it. It's just them getting gas, basically. And then I realized, like, wait, this is way down the road. Did he mean no nudity in the movie? Like, at all? Because there's nudity in the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I don't know. You weren't really specific on what you were telling me. You were just saying no nudity.
Right.
Which I thought was the property, not the film, but I've never heard anything. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Some people are like, I just don't want to be involved with that. And that's fine. I mean, I'm like, okay, well, whatever, I'll take my ball and go play elsewhere. But it's really, I've had people come up to me at like screenings of my films and be like, that part really bothered me. And I'm like, okay, well, I get it. I mean, people have different thresholds for different things. But I always try to make it clear, like, yeah, this is what we're going to do here,
Right.
as clear as I can be, but some people are like, I have had people be like, is it in any of the film? I'm like, I mean, yeah, but you're not doing it, and it's not here at your location. So
yeah, it's very, very weird. It's on what some people, will do and what they won't let you do, especially if you're paying them. That
right.
just doesn't, like, what do you care? I'm paying you, as long as I'm not destroying your house, what's the big deal? Because if it's like a religious thing or something, then you probably shouldn't be allowing me to cut somebody's head off either. Or do you want to read the script? Maybe I take the Lord's name in vain if that's a problem for you. You may want to check that out too. I don't know. But yeah, it's weird. But you have some really nice locations in there. And I was watching. I am one of detail. And I'll look at somebody's hand to see, like, if they say they're married, do they have a ring on? I mean, that's, that's it. I'll pause it if they're, let me see. And I'm very nitpicky like that. So I was looking at your asylum, and I was looking at, other things to be like, is that an asylum? You fooled me. So it looked like an asylum.
Well, now someone did point out in a review they butchered my film. They probably never made a movie in their life, but they butchered it. But they said they were talking about how the doors were not what you would see in a real asylum, and I was like, I didn't think about that at the time. I guess I should have, but at that time I was literally like, I have searched for this place. I've got this place, and I mean, this is what I have to use, And they were like, oh, the doors are blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my God.
How do they know? Have they been to every asylum ever? I mean, does every asylum look exactly the same? I mean, it's maybe different asylums have different doors. They have different windows. They have different, it doesn't make, that's one thing I like. Speaking of the asylum, Sybil, the doctor that's there, I liked her personal collection of masks. So explain that to me. Why does she have this personal collection of masks?
That originally was going to be a lot more than there was stuff that we shot that we didn't even put in that movie. It was almost like she was a collector of crazies. That was what she got her rocks off on. She collected crazy people. And we did promotional stuff leading up to the premiere of, like, sort of like what we did with the sequel. It was the same thing. We shot these little 2-minute vignettes of all the mental patients at the Athens Institute. And some are like, some are very disturbing to watch. Our actors did a great job. But but it was basically them being interviewed and them sort of recounting their crimes, But yeah, that was sort of the thing. And some of those masks had appeared in other films. Some of those masks, like the clown mask, that didn't appear in a film until They See You, which we just shot a year ago. So, but all of those masks were used in something.
Yeah, you definitely have a different assortment of. I think I even wrote some of them down. Inmate, obsessed with clowns. Killed boys. He likes to paint clowns, so we got a little bit of John Wayne Gacy going there. There's an inmate that jerks off. Good for him. Inmate baby face. And then the doctor referred to one as Bonnie Parker. And then it's the laughing one. Angel Cross, I think, is the name of the character, but she referred to her as Bonnie Parker. And then we go to see, and I kept referring to the wicked one throughout all my notes as 3178. So 3178 kills this person, 3178 kills that person, 31. So that's how I know the character is just a number. So it's a
homage to Halloween. 3178.
For our audience, what is 3178?
So that's the date that the original Halloween took place on. October 31st, 1978.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's all kinds of little things in there that, like Alex Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis, or um, there's just several things in there that are like homaging Halloween. Carpenter Falls, John Carpenter. There's a list somewhere of all this stuff that I forgot much.
Where do you think it's good to draw the line on that type of thing? Before somebody goes, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Is there kind of that line?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely a line that you shouldn't cross. But unless someone is a really big fan of that movie, like I don't think they get everything that's in it. It's mainly for the smart fan. It's like fans of a certain thing will get it, and your normal everyday audience doesn't have a clue, right? They're just like, yeah. So
yeah, I think it's fun unless you make it way too obvious. Like, this is police officer Carpenter and his partner, police officer Landis. Right. Oh, Judge Dante, how are you? And you're like, okay, all right, let's stop. Let's stop right now. That's fine. Carpenter Falls works perfectly fine because I was wondering, okay, that's got to be John Carpenter, but that sounds like a real place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do what you just said and have every like a character named after these people. Like, if I would have had, it's kind of like what they did with the new Scream that you don't like, where if she's Billy Loomis's daughter, her name is Samantha Loomis, Sam Loomis, right? So now their last name's Carpenter, but her real name is Sam Loomis if she's Billy's daughter. So I didn't want to do that. That's why I said, well, if I'm going to give her a last name, I'll give her the actress's last name and not like, Alex Strode or something like that. It would be more like, okay, well, Curtis. Some people might get that. Some people don't. So.
Yeah, I mean, I admit I did the same thing with the Axemas stuff with Silent Night, Deadly Night. I looked on Wikipedia and I found names that I liked of actors and the characters and gave those to the actors. So the storage facility that it takes place at is Chapman Storage, and it's owned by Billy and Ricky. So, and even on the phone, he picks up the phone and says, Chapman Storage, how may I help you? Oh, well, Billy and Ricky aren't here right now. Is there anything I can help you with? So, and even in Axemas 2, I did the same thing. It's the guy who owns the storage facility is Monty Chapman. And Monty is the last name of the guy who did the director of Part 3. So I'm guilty. I'm guilty too. And I hope that I didn't overdo it. But yeah, just sometimes there seems to be a line that's crossed where it's just kind of like, yeah, that's a little too much, Yeah. So one thing that I did like, and I thought you did a very good job on, background, is there always seems to be people in the background and they're doing something. So like in the asylum, you'll see some nurses walk by, or maybe you'll see a patient, or you'll see somebody doing something. And I like that. A lot of people don't even do that. It's just an empty hallway. Intentional or unintentional, when you go to the farm and the main cast is talking, you could see people in the background with, I forget if it's a horse or a cow, but there's two people. And I'm like, okay, that could be real. That could just be them going, no, you film. We're just going to do whatever we need to do. But it adds to it.
Well, that was actually that was the old man when they pulled onto the property, and he'd been looking after her property, and he's actually killed later on in the film. But that was him in the background with the horse.
Oh, okay. So was that intentional? Is he an actor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the actor. Yeah, he was the old man who got his throat slit sitting in his house. He was like the first kill after the Wicked One had escaped. Him and his wife. She
was just going to go take a shower, and look what happened. That's what happens.
Sandwich.
I know, that's all he wanted. Just wanted a sandwich. So I like that. And then I like the paintings on the wall in the doctor's office. I like some of those paintings in there were pretty weird. So I like stuff like that.
Yeah. He
And
actually did
then,
all of them.
oh, who did all of them?
The actress Deb Perkins, who
Oh,
played Sybil,
Deb
she
Deb
actually painted
Perkins.
all of those.
Oh, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. Okay, that's
Yep.
fun. And I like how the crazies take over the institute. I thought that was fun. I like him just kind of right in the middle there, and they just kind of go around him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool. And then, well, before we get too far away from it, so we've talked about pre-production. We got some production in there. What about post-production? How long did that take?
So we shot that film in March and April. That film premiered in November of the same year. So we literally had from April to November with post-production. And I think 2 weeks before 2 weeks before the premiere, we actually were getting B-roll. We were getting some additional shots that we needed. So we literally, we worked right up until it was time.
Yeah, because it's not a short film. I mean, 90 minutes is pretty standard. But if you're looking at kind of like low budget or micro budget films, they're more like 70 minutes. So
Yeah.
you made what I call a real movie because it's 90 minutes. And was that like a plan? You know, Halloween is around 90 minutes. So were you kind of thinking that, or did it just kind of end up being that way?
Our cut of the film was actually longer. And then once it got to distro, they were like, we need to cut like 15 minutes. It was like an hour 45. They were like, we need to cut 15 minutes out of this. So what they did is they really they sharpened and quickened up conversations where the dialogue may have dragged a little bit. It was kind of paused and kind of felt staged in some areas. They did a masterful job at that. And then, like I said, there was a whole arc of Sybil who had these cronies with her who were going after the Wicked One to bring him back to the asylum. We cut all of that. But she had these 3 muscle men who went with her back there. And we ended up cutting all of that.
Will you be ever releasing like a director's cut?
Maybe this year. That we're talking about doing some sort of a 5th year unrated director's cut or collector's edition or something, with because we still have all the footage. I mean, I would have to see legally what I'm allowed to do with distribution and stuff, because I have a great relationship with them. But we definitely want to get some special features out there to people and show them the making of the movie and all the fun we had, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be a great disc. I mean, I know in some cases, some people will do a double disc and they'll have the original version and then the director's cut. And then, having that like a feature length version of of a behind the scenes would also be really good. So I would definitely buy that. So I mean, I'm going to buy the film anyways, but now I may wait a little bit. So, because I do, I'd like to see those 3 cronies of hers, because she went off by herself and I thought that she was kind of silly. Like, this guy's just going to kill you. You're not nice to him. He's just going to wipe you out.
He did. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I guess the 2 characters that you're supposed to like the most would be Alex and Adam, but I actually thought they were kind of the bad guys of the movie.
Everyone's, that is so. It's so funny that people say that. It seems like people like Olivia and Trevor almost more than Alex and Adam. I think because you have the outcast Olivia, who doesn't really fit in with her friends, and she sort of forms this relationship with the brother, who is the black sheep of the family, right? And what potential that could have been had the Wicked One not showed up onto the scene, and we never get to find out. Now, one regret I do have, the scene where the girl runs around and Trevor accidentally shoots her.
I thought that
After
was
we were done,
hilarious. I laughed my ass off.
I said that would have held so much more emotional weight if it would have been Olivia who ran around the corner and he accidentally shot Olivia.
Okay.
It would have been
Okay.
it would have been so much more emotional because you saw them developing this relationship, right? And he was kind of digging her and she was kind of digging him. And then if it would have been her running around there and he shot her right before he bit the dust, probably would have been a little bit more better.
So thinking that way, then how would that death scene even be in the film then? Let's say of Olivia, if you could redo it, like would that just be completely cut, or would you trade that with a different character?
Well, so when Olivia runs off, right, she gets killed on top of the truck and then drug over
Yeah.
into the field and he stabs her 100 times. I would have just switched that with the blonde. I would have had him when the blonde came out and was like, he's here, blah, 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 blah. I would have had the blonde killed there and Olivia run back. And then.
Okay. Yeah, it would have. Yeah, it would have been definitely more tragic because I laughed. And I don't know if you meant for it to be funny or not, but it was kind of one of those like, oh shit type moments. And I just was laughing and I went back and rewatched it. And I'm just like, did he just shoot her? And you got some really good stunts too. A lot of these seem to be the same, like the actual actors that are taking these falls and being punched. And I mean, it seems like you kind of put them through the ringer as far as stunts go.
Yeah, a lot of that was Dale Miller who played Adam. Dale's a trained stuntman. Like I said, he did stunts on Halloween, and he's in Mom and Dad, Tragedy Girls. But Dale is really good at stunts. Really, really good at stunts. And he oversaw almost all of that. But yes, we did put them through it, and some walked away with tweaked knees, and some walked away with sores and scuffs, and but it was worth it.
Yeah, it looked really good. I mean, I was quite surprised by the amount of stunts that were done in this. And for people out there, I mean, I'm not talking about like somebody falling off of like a 3-story building or something, but there's a lot of flipping and pushing and like punching and people getting stabbed and I mean, yeah, just when the actress gets shot with the gun, she flies back. She just doesn't get shot and like just falls out of camera frame. She actually flies backwards. And I just thought that was really good. And I mean, to go back to like Alex and Adam, because I brought that up of saying that they were almost kind of the villains of the film, is you get in a way that at the beginning they're pissed off at Trevor, but Trevor never does anything wrong. He's sarcastic, but he never does anything wrong at all. And he finally gets to that point where he pulls the gun and stuff, but it's like, leave me alone. And we see that nicer side of him, when he's walking around with Olivia. And I love that shot where they're walking and talking. I thought that was a great moment between both of them. And then, she points out the murder house and they turn and walk back. And the camera goes back just a little bit and you could see the Wicked One standing right there watching them. And I thought that was a really nice shot, really good reveal. So it's yeah, I really enjoy this film. I really recommend it. So so now with you're done with the post-production. What did you do to find a distributor?
So luckily we lucked out. Jack, who played the Wicked One, went up and did a film called The Funhouse Massacre, which
I own that movie. Yeah.
So Andy, who directed that movie and also directed Camp Coldbrook with Danielle Harris and Chad Michael Murray, he's actually the distributor of The Wicked One, his company, Petrie Entertainment. And Petrie was wanting to do their own distribution company. and branching out into that at the time. And The Wicked One was their first acquisition. And so if you watch Funhouse Massacre, The Wicked One mask, Jack is in that movie dead in The Wicked One mask. It's in the Funhouse Massacre. So we talked, and they ended up taking the film, and literally it was a whirlwind because the film premiered when we had our world premiere in November of 2016. There was a sold out crowd of 600 people there. I mean, it was insane. I could not believe it. From there, the film went and screened at Horror Hound in March of 2017. And we had a nice crowd there at Horror Hound in Cincinnati. And then a month later, it was released in April of 2017. So it was all very quick. It happened really, really quick.
Cool. And no problems or anything like that. It was just very, very smooth and quick.
To this point, to this day, that is the best distribution experience I've had out of all my films.
Excellent.
Was that with them. Unfortunately, they don't do it anymore. They sort of closed down their distro arm. But this film is still making money all these years later. And for a movie that was made for peanuts, that's crazy to me.
Do you see money from Tubi?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I do not. My two films are on Tubi. So at times I ask people that question because I've not seen a dime, and I do have a distributor for Xmas 1 and 2. So why do you see money and I don't? Is it just the person dealing with the distribution company?
I'm not sure. I think I've heard people say different things about distribution. I can say that The Wicked One is approaching, and again, to some, this is probably not a lot of money, but for a film that was made for $12,000 5 years ago, I mean, we're approaching, the $45,000 mark that I've made.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's all came through streaming. Now, it hasn't been on Tubi long, but since it has been on Tubi, I thought we were done making money until it got on Tubi, and then I started making money again through Tubi. So I don't know, man.
Do you use Film Hub?
Film Hub? I have no idea. I don't think so.
Interesting. I'll have to talk to my distributor about these type of things. So
I think High Octane is who put Petrie worked with High Octane. I could be wrong, but I think it was them that got The Wicked One on Tubi.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know how I got on Tubi. I'm assuming my distribution guy probably goes through Film Hub. And I just happened to see that somebody pointed out to me. They're like, oh shit, Xmas 1 and 2 are on Tubi. And it's like, but they're only 30 minutes. I guess Tubi doesn't care. So yeah, they're on there. So it's like, I'm perfectly happy about that. So they're on YouTube too. And I've been destroyed many times by fucking little critics who've, like you pointed out, like have never made a movie, and they're the worst thing ever. I'd rather get an abortion than watch this again. It's like, oh, great.
And that's funny because I had a lot of people when The Wicked would come out who would come to me and be like, did you see this review? Did you see this review? And I was like, well, how many of those opinions are really qualified? Where can I see their film? And furthermore, like, everyone can have an opinion, but until you understand the ins and outs of making something for nothing, I got to a point where I was like, I don't even care what people say. I don't even care what people's thoughts are or where they try to nitpick a film that's made for nothing. I just, again, is your opinion even warranted, brother? Because
right.
Probably not.
Yeah, when I first made Xmas, I was almost brought to tears by someone. And now I've just grown such a thick skin that I don't care. I mean, it's just, I've
Yeah.
actually posted some of the worst reviews that I've had on Facebook to just laugh. I just think it's hilarious when people point these things out, and it's like, what do you want? The film costs $500.
Right.
Leave me alone. Go make your own movie for $500 then. So, so let's see, where are we at? So the film right now, it's on Tubi. Can you get a physical copy of it?
Yep. So physical copies are on my website, jonestownfilms.com. You can find them online, but you're probably going to pay a lot more than you would on my website if you could find physical copies online. They may have them on Amazon, maybe eBay. I've seen them on there. I know, and again, I'm kind of ignorant right now to what the stance is, but they were in family videos for a long time. So I don't know out there physically where you can find them, but you can find them on my website for sure. And I promise you, you won't pay $30 for it. I got on one website at one time and it was like $26 for a DVD. I was like, okay, I don't get this, but I guess because they, I don't know.
I mean, so I completely blanked on what I was about to say. Oh, so since the Wicked one is, technically, if you want to say like your first film, what is your career been like since then? Because you've made obviously several films after that. What turned when people saw the Wicked one for you? What was that moment?
I think it was, to me, I could have, when it failed the first time, I could have easily said, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to move on and just let this thing not come to fruition. But and this has always been a chip on my shoulder. When I got started, there was a lot of people who call themselves filmmakers who started a lot of projects and never finished them. And they wasted everyone's time. And I did not want to be one of those people. So the chip on my shoulder was, if I have to sell my body, cut off a leg, whatever I have to do to get this film finished, I'm going to do it. Whatever it costs me, I'm going to do it. And then once that film happened and it sold out its first pressing day one, all physical retailers, it sold out day one, which was huge. And then it just sort of took on this life of its own that I don't fully understand. But literally to this day, like I said earlier, people bring it up to me, the Wicked one, the Wicked one, the Wicked one. And it's like, I told a filmmaker friend, I was like, I wish sometimes I could get out of that shadow of that character. But, I mean, it is what it is. It's from there, I try to outdo whatever my last film was. So, from there, since 2016, I've made all these other films. And it's just that it's the same thing. I pride myself on finishing what I start and delivering for the people who supported it and the people that are in it, or else it's a waste of time. I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to get together and hang out with my buddies. To me, it's a business, right? So I don't want to get together and hang out with my buddies and do all that. To me, it's like, no, we're here to do a job. We're going to film this movie. We're going to release this movie. And then we're going to go and we're going to do that again. Film it, release it, repeat. So all my films so far have gotten distro. This next film we're doing, my highest budget, we're right under $100,000 on our budget right now for Phantom Fun Film. Shooting on red cameras for the first time. So I'm excited about that. I've only ever shot on black magic. So shooting on reds, utilizing so much more equipment, 1-ton grip truck, just next level stuff that I'm excited about doing. I'm nervous about it because it is a next step up, but I think if you stay comfortable, you're not growing. So you got to kind of step outside of your comfort zone and try new things. And even if you fall on your butt, pick yourself back up and keep going, man. So
Right.
that's my philosophy on it.
So with, like you said, you've only made like one short, and you've mostly done features. Is it better for, what is your advice? Do you think it's better for people to just go for it and just make features? Should they start out doing a few shorts, then make a feature? What's your advice on that?
For me, I guess it's what can you be emotionally invested in? I know filmmakers who this is gonna sound like I'm nitpicking, but I'm not. I know filmmakers who they have this attention span where they announce a project, they don't even release this project, and they've announced the next 4 projects
Oh yeah.
that they're going to do, and I'm just like, bro, we ain't seen your first film, so what are you doing? You know,
Right.
and for me, a short film, for me, I need to be emotionally invested for the long run. Like if I'm going to tell a story and I can't be emotionally invested in it, and for me, that's been with feature films. Now, for some people, they can shell out short films like it's nothing. I struggle with short films. I'm like, okay, so what can I say in this amount of time, and what's it going to be about, and how do I make this something that I actually am going to be emotionally invested in bringing to life? And so far, I mean, I've had ideas, but it's just, I guess I'm just kind of the feature guy. I really like features. I like the whole process from concept to completion, and I like being emotionally invested in the long haul.
Yeah, it's like the Axis films, they're 30 minutes each. I'm going to be making 3 and 4. Those will be 30 minutes each to make a full 2-hour movie. They're spaced out by like a year each. But I know like the first film, it's all in a storage facility. The entire film takes place in the storage facility. And the second one, I wanted to grow a little bit. So the first half is at somebody's house, at a restaurant, and then at the 15-minute mark, we hit the storage facility again. So for short films, you kind of have to almost know, okay, this is going to be 30 minutes. So I need to do this in 5 minutes, this in 10 minutes, this in 10 minutes, this in 5, this in. So I almost think short films are actually a little harder to make than features, where you can kind of space it out. You can go, oh, this could be 70 minutes, could be 80 minutes, could be 90 minutes. But if you're saying, no, this only needs to be 30, I have to get all of this stuff in there and have it make sense and want people to see another film.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's definitely challenging. And for me too, I don't know if I'm capable of that. Like, I don't know if I can, maybe I'm a long-winded film director, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if I could do a short and feel fulfilled at the end. I'd be like, oh, but there's so much more I need to say, you know? So, I don't know, man. Could I do short? Sure. I think I could. But it would have to be something that I was like really, really high on doing. Just like with the short we did, it made sense because we were going to use it to promote, and it was going to be him telling his side of the story of what happened to him and why he killed his parents, you know? So that made sense for me because it wasn't in the first film. We never hear him talk about it in the second film. So to me, it was like, well, what's his story? What from his point of view, what is his confession as to what happened?
Is that available for people to see?
That is free on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I could put a link down to that then. So now you had talked about, like, you know, you're with your friends, but this is a business and all that type of stuff. Do you prefer to work more independently, or do you like working with others?
I like working with others. So I've worked with a lot of the same people for a while. Now I've incorporated new people along the way, but this next film is pretty much all new people. And that was, I think, imperative to my growth as a filmmaker. I've learned that not everybody wants to go where you want to go. Not everybody, some people are, and it's fine. Some people are content with making a certain budget movie for the rest of their life and only producing one kind of film. And I'm not. Like, I'm trying to make it. I don't want to be famous. I just want to be successful, you know? Fame is not something I seek. I don't need that. I just want to be able to make a good living making movies. And if I can do that, I'll be happy. So that means that I have to grow and do things differently in order to qualify for bigger distribution, in order to be able to get it on bigger platforms. And not everybody that starts with you will finish with you, because not everybody has the same goals as you. If we're going to do this, if I'm going to do this, and I have a really good friend who's kind of like a mentor, and we talk every day, and he runs a convention, and he's been in the business for a long time. And we talk every day, and he said, you know, it's time that you do this. You need to go to the next level, and you need to do something different. So that was important. I like surrounding myself with people who serve the film. I've had people who were there for themselves, you know, that were there for, whether it be an actor, they couldn't give a crap less about the film. It was about making their star shine. And I try to explain this. If the film succeeds, everybody succeeds.
Right.
Not just me. Everybody succeeds. So serve the vision of the film. That should be our guiding light. And if you serve the vision of the film, everybody will be happy in the end, and everybody will win. Not everybody's like that. So, but I like people that are there to serve the vision and want to have fun doing it and not make life miserable, because these things are hard enough to make, and we don't need someone on set making things harder than they already are.
Yeah, because you know you got good people with you when the actor will pick something up off the ground. You know, when it's just like, you know, oh, somebody, can you hand me the slate? And then the actor's like, oh, well, here it is. You know, instead of just standing there being, I'm the actor. I don't need to do any of this. Thank you. You know, and, you know, and then you have to go pick it up yourself when you're much further away from it. You know, you got a good crew when people are willing to bend and do 3 or 4 things, even though that's really not why they're there. So, right. So I guess that kind of brings me to, you know, with you bringing it up, like, what is something like good that happened on set? Like really good, like, oh, wow. And what was something bad that happened on set?
On the Wicked one?
Yes.
Oh gosh. Trying to remember. That's been so long ago.
If you can't think of something, just one of the other films is fine.
So probably the worst thing that's ever happened on a set didn't happen on this film, but on another film, and I won't say which one, we just had situation after situation where people were fighting with everyone. They couldn't get along with anybody. Like, they literally picked fights with everybody. And I was just at a certain point, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you even, like, I don't understand why you're here if you're so miserable to be here. Like, this is not healthy for anybody, because everybody was on edge. Everybody was, you know, fighting, and it was a nightmare. And I won't go into detail about it because I've yeah. Anyways, but the best thing I think that happened on the Wicked one was probably the night of the premiere. Because like I said, I tried to do this movie in 2014, and it didn't work out. So for that 4-year culmination to get that first film that I consider the first real film done, to have that many people show up, I literally walked back behind the thing and just broke down because I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that many people were there. And I couldn't hold it in. So I literally walked back there and was just like, I might have been having a panic attack at the same time too. But But that was probably the best thing about that whole experience, was just the payoff at the end and being able to say we did it, we finished it, and here we are.
Awesome. That's perfect. So, and this kind of goes back a ways, but the title itself, The Wicked One, where did that come from instead of maybe just calling it The Farmhouse Massacre?
The name of The Wicked One, again, that started, like I said, we wrote the script like 12 times, and that was really the name of the entity, The Wicked One, right? So it wasn't necessarily about, oh, there's a dude who calls himself the Wicked One. It was sort of like the Wicked One was that crow creature, and he sort of became that. And that just sort of developed over time. And then people in the town are like, you ever heard the story about the Wicked One? Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, that's really what it came from, is one of the original stories, which was much different, was about that entity, the Wicked One, that crow demon thing. So that's really how we come up with the name.
With this crow demon and like the beginning of the film, and the young kid, he kills his friends and stuff, and was his intention to bring them there all along? Because he sees the crow after he does all of that. So is he always, kind of already possessed, or like he was already the Wicked One?
Yeah, so we touch on that, and like I said, in the sequel a little more. So he kills his parents and his sister, right? But he's hearing, it's like the crow is speaking to him to do these things, and sometimes he resists, but eventually, he gives in. And on that, when you sort of see the home movie, when the film opens, you see like the home movies of the Miller family, and then it cuts to the parents dead and him walking into the shed to finish off his sister. But in the sequel, we actually show what he did to his parents, and we show that conflict with him. So in a way, I guess we requeled that. It had some requel elements to it, because it's we were revisiting some of the stuff we did in the first and just expanding upon it more.
And then he, at the very beginning, he puts, when he kills his friends, he puts them up like the scarecrows.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he comes back as the adult, when he goes to kill the two people in the house, they do have scarecrows out, which is where he takes the mask and some of the stuff. Was that on purpose? Were you kind of mimicking, so?
I honestly have never made that connection until just now. I honestly have not.
That's funny. Something to think about now. Something to think about.
Yeah.
And I'm going to quickly get through my notes here so I can let you go in like 5 minutes or so. Let's see. So, well, let me, I keep going back to Alex and Adam for a second here, because you mentioned, have people come up to you saying that they're not nice people, that they are kind of the villains of it?
I think there was a lot of questioning why Trevor, it honestly should have been the brother sister that survived. I've had a lot of people say that it should have been Trevor and Alex that survived, or maybe Trevor and Olivia. I've heard that one too. I don't know what it is. I just think that I guess that's kind of the actor's fault, the way it was portrayed, the way it came across. The goal was that Trevor, and it's revealed in the movie why he is the way he is, why he's had some issues throughout his life, was because he blamed himself for a freak accident, and he goes back to the family farm, and all of that kind of resurfaces, and then he gets into it with Adam, and but yeah, I don't know really why why that ended up the way it was. I guess people found him more relatable because I think people gravitate towards flawed characters because they're more realistic. And Trevor, funny story, Trevor is actually named after my brother Trevor, who's a very flawed individual in his own ways. So pulled from real life on that one a little bit. But yeah, I think people gravitate towards people that don't have it all together, and they gravitate towards people who are flawed. Olivia, who was this, she didn't really fit in with her friends. She was kind of the nerd. She was kind of backwards and weird, and she ate a lot throughout the movie. And then Trevor, of course, with his issues. And I felt like when they started, organically kind of getting to know each other, and there seemed to be a little bit of chemistry there. And she got to his soft side and all of that. I think that's why people gravitated towards them, because their arc, it almost came full circle before it didn't. It was almost like they were redeeming themselves throughout the course of the film, and then cut short by that bastard, the wicked one.
Well, okay, I'm going to agree with you. So that's because even Adam says that Alex is perfect, that Trevor is the problem. So, I mean, that's if she's perfect, I can't necessarily identify with her, but I can identify with Trevor. I've been in jail. I went to jail for 40 days, and when I was in LA. So I think I could relate more to, somebody who's flawed than I can to somebody who is being called perfect.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I don't think she, I don't think, what's weird, and it's kind of, I've been knocked for this too, is in the beginning, Adam is sort of the one who suggests she pick him up.
Yeah.
From he's kind of like, oh, well, he's family, even though we learned that Trevor's stolen his car in the past and did all this stuff. And then, he seems to be, I think people kind of took that as, oh, well, he's just playing up to his girlfriend. He really doesn't like the guy. And, the scene at the car where he's talking about Trevor and he's this or he's that. I think people were kind of like, wow, this guy's kind of douchebag towards this Trevor guy. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's giving people a second chance, and he wasn't seeming to do that, unless this is like his fifth chance that Trevor's on. So 5th, 6th, 10th, maybe somewhere in there. Right. Then that would be understandable. So I found that interesting, is at first they were like really nice at the beginning, and he's like, yeah, you should go pick him up. And there was almost this switch at some point during the film where it's like, wow, Adam's like really mean to this guy, but Trevor's bigger than him. You better watch it.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
And then to move a little forward, there's all the stuff that's at the Institute. I did like the nurse, the building that she's running around in, and her being killed. That was a good kill scene and a good location for her to have that done. Was that the same location as the Institute?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of that was shot in the same building. Everything, that building had like 6 stories. So that shot where she comes down the hallway, she runs left, she comes around, that was all one take. So it was done in a oneer. She came down, goes around, he hits her, falls her down, back out the door. That was all done in one take.
Nice. Yeah, it looked good. I like that a lot. And then is Wicked Fest a real thing, or did you make that up for the film?
I mean, I hope it's not a real thing. I just came up with the name for the film. I thought, like, if something like that happened, some idiot is gonna be like, "Oh, the Wicked one. Oh, Wicked Fest. It's our Halloween, show in town." Some sleazy businessman or or poorly, some politician with poor taste in a small backwoods town is going to probably do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a chance. And then you shot in a graveyard, which is always good. I like graveyards, so that was nice to shoot in. Was that local, or was that like more further away?
That was in Kentucky as well. Yep. Actually, we shot there without permission, so we had to sneak into there to do that. There was I guess the caretaker was driving around, and luckily there was a tombstone there that had the same last name as mine. So if he was to come up and ask, he didn't. But if he would have come up and asked, I was ready to say, we're shooting a documentary about my friend, my family member here.
Always have to have that backup story just in case. We're students. We're students. That type of thing. And then you had now I thought this was interesting. So there was a location of a store that had like a whole bunch of stuff in it. And the guy comes in and he brings a box and he doesn't find the person there. And then he's walking around, and then you go behind the counter and there's a dead person, a dead woman, I believe. And there's blood everywhere. And now I asked you about this earlier, so I'm going to bring it up now. I thought it was ironic that she was murdered, but yet she had a Second Amendment shirt on. And it showed like the like an Uzi or something on the side there. And I thought to myself, while watching it, I go, guess that Second Amendment didn't help you today. Because I guess the wicked one got to her.
Yeah.
And didn't use a gun.
He brought a knife to a gunfight and he won.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, that's a cool location too.
Well, that lady, actually, I had no bearing on what she was wearing at all. But that lady is actually, she is a real McCoy from the Hatfield and McCoy's family.
Oh.
So her antique store there is called the Real McCoy, antique vendor or whatever. And so it talks about that a little bit in the BTS. They were talking to her over there, but she's a real McCoy. She's a descendant from the Hatfield and the McCoy feuding families or whatever. So a lot of there's certain people in that movie, her being one of them, that what you see is what you get. I mean, we shot literally, the areas that we shot in are so Eastern Kentucky and so backwoods that people, our country is cornbread. They are who they are, for better or worse. And yeah, I had no idea what her shirt said. That's how much attention I was paying to that. But that is a good point. Somebody's going to look at that and say Tory's sending a subliminal message that he doesn't give
me. I thought that. I thought that, and
I will take credit.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And yeah. So yeah, it's a cool place. A couple of people get murdered in there, which I really liked. It was a nice location, lots of atmosphere. Then that brings us to the farm, and I like basically the guy who says, you don't want to go to the old Miller place, do you? You always got to have that guy call something like the old something place, because that's, you shouldn't be going there,
right?
Because it's got a death curse. So and quickly get through this stuff. So then we got the urban legend of the Wicked One by them at the campfire. So I like that. That was nice. You got to have that. The Burning, Friday the 13th Part 2, Madman. They all have the campfire scene with the urban legend. So you got to include that in. It would be missing without it. Then we got I made a note here that Trevor aims the gun at Adam, but Trevor didn't do anything. He was just sitting there. And it was Adam was just annoying him, so I kind of felt it was justified, even though I don't believe in guns. I actually thought him pulling the gun was justified.
Right. Well, I guess the underlying message that Cheyenne was trying to say with his writing was that maybe Trevor was a drug dealer, or Trevor had some stuff in that bag he didn't want people to see. And Adam was alluding to that. Let's just see what's in the effing bag. And then Trevor was like, drop it. and pulled out the little pistol thing. So yeah, I think that's what Shine was alluding to, because I know there was a lot more backstory in there that Trevor had been, peddling drugs, and that had led to some issues with his sister as well. So unfortunately, we didn't have enough time in the movie to go into all of that, but
Yeah, I was almost thinking if one of the other characters, let's say like Olivia or somebody, did look in it, or if Trevor was unpacking, it would just be like underwear, socks, a shirt, but it's my property. How dare you, insist, that I show you what's in it. And then we find out, oh, it's not drugs. It's just clothes from him hiking or something like that, So, and then that's when the Wicked One, he takes the clothes off the Scarecrow, kills the couple up the house, which I liked. I thought it felt John Carpenter Halloween 2 to me. So I like that. And then, the guy gets his throat cut. The poor woman, she just wants, she's going to go take the shower. And then, we even wrote down here, truck and tree and bushes. Great location. So we already talked about that. We talked about how the Wicked One does watch Trevor and Olivia. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. So one reason why I brought up is Wicked Fest, the real thing, is the bar. And there's the band playing Vintage Voodoo. And there's a lot of people in that bar all dressed up and stuff. So I thought, I don't know, maybe there is some sort of event that's going on out there.
That was all extras that we brought in. Now, Vintage Voodoo is a real band, or at least they were last time I checked. But they ended up doing that song Death Row Scarecrow for the movie, which if you listen to the lyrics, it kind of tells the story of Colin Miller a little bit, in the lyrics. And so they did that for the film in general. They just come up with the lyrics, and I sort of gave them the backstory of what he was and what he'd done, and they wrote it and played it in the Wicked Fest theme.
Was that easy or difficult to deal with like the extras and the band and all that type of stuff to kind of get it all synced together?
I like shooting with extras, honestly. Some people find it difficult, but I think it makes it feel more real. When you're having to manage so many things and you've got extras and you're pantomiming and trying to do the music and all that stuff. And I like it, but is it more difficult? For sure.
Okay. Yeah. It looked good though. Looked good. Made me question, is this actually a real thing that you just happen to be shooting at?
No, we shut down that bar we could only film there on a Sunday because that was the only day that they weren't open. So we got there like 7:00 that morning and started decking it out. And by noon we were shooting. We shot for like 5 or 6 hours. We shot all that.
Oh, wow. That looks good. Now here is something that confused me. And I have issues with this type of thing. There is an actress who does nudity, but her hands or the boyfriend's hands are always like on her breasts. That's the only thing in the movie where I kind of went, maybe just being a bra. So I'm guessing there were issues with nudity.
Well, there wasn't when the actress had signed on. It was made clear. And apparently around that time, she was trying to adopt a child or something along those lines. And we learned the day of that she was no longer going to do that because she was trying to adopt a child. So she wanted to cover them, and we had already shot most of her stuff. Again, I'm trying to get this film done, you know what I mean? So I was just like, okay, we'll just whatever we could do to get the scene. To me, it's kind of like something you said earlier. If you're doing a sex scene anyway, I don't see what the difference is. And you're saying it's for this reason, you don't want to do this, but you're still in there, doing what you're doing in the scene. So that was her thing day of. So I just went with it and compromised just to get it done and move on.
Yeah. I mean, even just a shirt, would have been okay, because it just looks kind of. I'm like, oh man, come on,
Yeah.
man. I was looking forward to that, but oh well. And then the wicked one, kills the boyfriend. He goes off to pee and cuts his neck, which I thought was. I'm like, ew, is he going to pee inside the barn? Is he going to go outside? I hope to pee.
No.
No, he was just going to pee inside the barn.
Well, he actually, if you notice, he goes up there and he pulls out an engagement ring. So
maybe he's not peeing.
Yeah, he actually was trying to find the courage to propose to her, which he had sort of, in an earlier scene, he was asking Adam, how do I do this? How do I do this? And he was
that's right.
Not the sharpest tool in the shed. Right. So Adam was like, these are the things you need. I can't even remember what Dale said. It was all improv what Dale said. But he was that was sort of giving him something to kind of. I felt like that character was probably the weakest in the film, and then trying to give him something that made him a little bit more likable right before, of course, he met his end.
Oh, well, you got to. So that makes sense to why he's still upstairs then. So, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I didn't catch that. So, okay. But now I do. Now, Trevor's shirt at one point says varsity swimming, and then there's a sperm on it. Interesting shirt.
Yeah, that is Cheyenne. That is very much who Cheyenne is. He is a very sarcastic, smartass type person in real life, and he thought that fit Trevor to a T. Trevor would wear something like that. So I was cool with it, but that was all Cheyenne, or my co-writer, who was like, I have this shirt and it's got a sperm swimming on it. I was like, okay.
All right. And now when they're in the barn, there's a flickering TV that's on.
Mm-hmm.
What was there anything with that TV, or did you just thought it looked cool being on?
I can't remember about the flickering TV. I felt like, I think the owner was sitting out there watching the TV, and a storm came through, and it blew out if I'm remembering right, it blew out he had a TV in his barn. He sat out there in his barn and drank beer and smoked cigarettes and watched his TV. And I think it went out or something. That I know there was a storm that came through that same night that we shot the ending. And I think he just turned it off, and I was like, just leave it on. Or somebody said, just leave it on and let it flicker like that. It's kind of weird and bizarre. So I was like, okay. Like, by that point, we were filming weekends and we had been shooting for so long. I was just like, that's the worst thing ever to do, is just shoot weekends and not shoot I only shoot straight through now. I shoot for like 16, 17 days straight. I don't do that weekend stuff no more because it's taking years off my life.
And then we have, of course, the wicked one on the horse, which I love. I thought that was awesome. Almost kind of remind me of like Pale Rider type of thing, the whole death being on a horse. So
yeah,
I really like that. And then we have Trevor shoots her as she goes around the barn. I still think that's hilarious. And this is where all the bloodbath happens. So we get a lot of knives and backs. We get shoulder, injuries. We get sadly, the wicked one breaks Trevor's neck, Chuck Norris style. So, but I guess he could, like you say, he could come back in like in a wheelchair and just have like a big thing around his neck. He could do something like that. He cuts the doctor's neck. And then Adam I thought Adam died like 3 times, but he keeps popping back up. So he's got some good stamina there.
Somebody did a review in there. Like, Jesus Christ, this guy should have been the wicked one, Mr. Captain. I think they call they called him Captain Can't Be Killed or something. I don't remember what they kept calling him.
That's funny.
He did. He got stabbed like 20 times. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he's being thrown against walls on the floor. He gets stabbed. I mean, yeah, a ton of stuff happens to him. And I thought, okay, he's got to be dead now. You know, he's not coming back. And then there you see in the background, he's like running up with a knife. He's like, oh, okay. I guess it was just a flesh wound. And then we get the, the very ending is they both Alex and Adam get the tow line wrapped around the Wicked One's neck, and they think they've hung him. I like that as he kind of just goes straight up, and then we get the eye opening for our sequel. So yeah, I liked it. I really think people should see this. I think that they would really enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to that sequel. So
yeah, man. I think the Wicked One, I say that the Wicked One really set me on my way with filmmaking. And it was an incredible experience. It was a hard thing to get through at times, but it was very much just an incredible experience that has literally given me like this indie film career and made me able to do what I'm doing now. So. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for reaching out to me and suggesting this film and everything. So I'm going to definitely promote it. So especially the sequel, because I like a lot of sequels, and what you told me about the sequel, I think I'm going to really like. So I tend to be an aftermath person, like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I like to see what happens to them after the first film more than the first film.
Yeah,
just how screwed up they are.
I can get you a copy for sure and let you check it out and see what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it and get your input since you like the first.
Oh yeah, I would love that. Thank you. So I know it's late where you are, and we're actually going a little over than what I thought we would, which is, I think that's great. It's better to have more than less. So is there anything you would like to promote? Could be past, present, future, anything you would like to let people know about?
The only thing really is just keep an eye out. Check out jonestownfilms.com to keep up with all of our projects we've got going on. Like They See You will be coming soon. Hopefully we'll get an announcement from our distro on when they're going to release Wicked Ones to the public. So hopefully that'll be soon. I was told towards the first half of this year at least. And then of course right now our Indiegogo is wrapping up on Phantom Fun World. We're almost to our stretch goal that we want to hit. We're like $2,800 away from that. So check out Phantom Fun World on Indiegogo, and if you dig what you see, then join our team and help us bring this film to life.
There you go. Yeah, send me all that information. Send whatever you want to me, and I don't care if it's 3 links or 100 links. I'll put them all in. So that's fine. Whatever best, whatever you think is best. So, but yeah. So let's wrap this up so you can go do something more important. So once again, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. I really do. I had a great time on this. I've discovered a whole new filmmaker and film that I did not know about before. So that's one reason why I love doing this. So I've met so many new people. So yeah, so this will be out. We'll have this on next Wednesday, and I guess that's it. So I'm going to say goodbye. Would you like to say goodbye?
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much, John, for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to hopefully come back on and talk to you about something in the future.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. So, yeah, no problem at all. So, love to. All right, everybody. I will talk to you later, and I will see you on the next, one filmmaker, one film. So, bye, everybody. Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out after the video. And thank you for watching the very first Dark Park Films sponsored video. And who is that sponsor? Well, I've now learned if I do this with my hands, they go to the right area. There we go. That would be Wildlife Command Center coffee, and you can purchase it right there. You can go to their website, which is buyWCC.com, and pick up their coffee. They have 2 blends, which I'm going to show you now. The first coffee is this one right here. This is a breakfast blend. It's 10 ounces, and it is a medium ground. And it does say, and it's breakfast, like I said, and this is what it says right here. It says, early bird can catch the worm. So there you go, a breakfast blend coffee that helps you catch the worm in the morning. And I really like this one. I'm more of a breakfast kind of blend coffee guy in the morning. So this one I really like. It has that little bit of oomph to it to kind of get you moving, get you up and out. And so I really enjoy this one, but that doesn't mean that I don't like the other one, which is this one right here. This is a dark roast. It is also 10 ounces, and both of these are $7.99 at their website. Pretty good price for 10 ounces worth of ground coffee. This one is, it's a little darker. So it's, I think it's better for drinking at night. Maybe if you're, writing a screenplay or if you're filming, this has got that oomph, that double punch to get you going. So this is one that I also recommend. I like both of these quite a bit, but I kind of do, the breakfast in the morning and then the dark more at night. So I recommend both of these quite a bit. And how did I find out about these two coffees here? And how did I find out about Wildlife Command Center? Well, when I was working on Night of the Zomghouls, there was a box of coffee that was just sitting there filled with coffee. And we didn't know what to do with it. Like, whose is this? Who brought it? Why is it here? And so we just kept going to the store and buying coffee. And then one day I said, why don't we just get the coffee out of the box and use that instead of, wasting money on going to Smith's or whatever and picking up coffee. So we did. We did not realize that it was the Wildlife Command Center coffee and that it, was sponsoring the movie. And it was great coffee. Everybody loved it. And we just went right through it. By the last day of filming, this coffee was gone. And I went and found out, about Wildlife Command Center, asked if they would like to be a sponsor for Dark Park Films, for their coffee. As many of you know, I love coffee. I love coffee mugs. And so this was a perfect match. And Wildlife Command Center is great with animals. So they provide a great service for rescuing animals. So it's kind of that double whammy for me, where coffee, helping animals, you can't go wrong. And they were even cool enough to send me, get in there, a coffee mug, because they knew that I liked coffee mugs. And right now, I don't get that. That a little bit. I'm going to go on the keyboard, but that's their dark blend, because I'm recording this at night. So I am actually drinking that while recording. Also, one thing that you can get at their website, which is cool, is you can get this. There you go. This pocket knife, which is $9.49. And this is pretty cool because it has their name on it. Wildlife Command Center, we can catch it. And this is what it looks like. Put that down there. There we go. Fully out. So you're getting like the bottle opener, you got the corkscrew, you got a screwdriver, you got a blade, and then you got this little hook thing that you could pop it into something that doesn't have a tab, and then the liquid or whatever in there will come out. So this is pretty cool. And I'm just going to keep mine in my car, because you never know. You might need a pocket knife. So please support them. I'm going to have links down below, where you can, check out just the Wildlife Command Center. I'll also have a link for Wildlife Command Center coffee, and it will basically be for both these guys right here. And please support them. I support them. I think what they do is pretty awesome. And you know, maybe this coffee will be on your set or in your kitchen. It will definitely be, you know, on my set in my kitchen. I know that. So please, once again, I'm going to show you these. Please go to their website and pick up their coffee and make it part of your day or night, depending on which one you like. So that'll be about it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, so thank you. And once again, please support my channel. Please support the Wildlife Command Center. And I will catch you later. Bye.